The Board of Trustees of Harris County Department of Education now convene in a board meeting on Wednesday, August 16, 2017, in the boardroom at 6300 Irvington Boulevard, Houston, Texas, at about 1:07 p.m. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present and this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As trustees, we're here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personal appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the department are responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on today's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as pertinent by Section 551071 to 551084, inclusive of the Texas Government Code. I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. Thank you today for taking your time to join us and your interest in the Harris County Department of Education. Okay, so we are going to start with the invocation, and Elisa O'Neill from Teaching Learning Center is going to lead us in prayer.
Thank you. Good afternoon. O Lord, we come to you before today to give you honor and praise. We give you respect and we acknowledge you as our creator and provider. As we begin this meeting, we ask if you could guide our thoughts and our actions so that we may have a successful meeting today. Help us accomplish our goals while displaying your character. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, we're going to do the pledge to the U.S. flag and also the Texas flag from Andrea Seagraves.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, so we're going to have, and I know a lot of people have signed up and we got a whole bunch of great visitors. But before we go do that, we're going to have a public hearing regarding the department's revisited internet safety policy. Jimmy doing that? All right, Jimmy.
Mr. President, members, we are required by federal law to have a public hearing about our internet safety policy. That policy was made available to the board in their packet that was provided to you last week, and copies of such were provided out front for anybody that wanted to review that and make a comment. So it is my understanding from board counsel that we have an open hearing, much like we do with the budget hearing. If there's anyone wishing to speak on that, we allow them an opportunity. If not, then we can close the meeting and get on with your business today.
Okay. So I guess, yeah. Anybody want to talk or ask questions or have any comment about our internet safety policy? Going, gone. I'm guessing we're going to move on. Okay. So, I am going to acknowledge the visitors. Okay. Today, we have a number of visitors, which is excellent. Not many people coming to address us, which is a change. I guess it could be a good change. Looks like, what do we have? Let's see. We've got Carla DeRocha, Matt Milil. I'm so horrible at saying names, and a number of other great guests. I don't think I have to go. Do I need to go through these individually? No. I hope you don't mind me going through these individually and just butchering y'all's names. But thank y'all very much for coming. Thank you for visiting us.
Can we have some kind of representation? What do they?
Oh, okay, sure. It looks like so. We do have Dave Wilson with Cypress Texas Tea Party, and we also have Amber Weed with Harris County Precinct 1. There are some other individuals here that doesn't say what organizations they represent. And if y'all want me to, I will go one by one. Okay. Could y'all stand so we can, so we know who's visiting? We can welcome you? Okay. Well, thank y'all. Thank you for coming. Thank y'all for coming. Okay. Hope I didn't do that too bad. Okay. Now we've got two guests that would like to speak. We've got Matt Mallier. Come on up. It's like to hear what you have to say.
I'm Matthew Malliel. Thanks for allowing me to speak. Do I have 5 minutes, given that there's just two of us speaking today?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thanks. I'm here to speak against spending $53,000 in order to name the North Post Oak facility the Ethel Wolf facility. I wanted to take you back. Just 2 meetings ago at the June 20th board meeting, there was an action item where where you all were considering increasing the cost of designing the Recovery High School by $18,000 in order to include a culinary arts classroom. And while that was considered a routine measure, it went back and forth, but it was board member Michael Wolf who did his best to reject this additional spending. And even after it is explained to everyone that delaying the spending at the design stage would lead to greater costs later, he still voted against it under the rationale that it was fiscally responsible. And in the most incredible moment I ever witnessed since I've begun attending these board meetings, it first looked like the money would not be approved, thus delaying the project, but then to your credit, Eric Dick, you changed your vote and you allowed it to go forward because you saw it as fiscally responsible. But board member Michael Wolf held firm to fiscal responsibility. $18,000 was too much money and too wasteful to be approved. Fast forward to today, the North Post Oak facility has as innocuous a name as one can have. But board member Wolf wants this building named after his mother, and at a cost of $54,000, 3 times the cost that board member Wolf would not permit when it came to the recovery school. Where now is the fiscal responsibility? I don't see it anywhere. I feel it's very disingenuous. I couldn't help but notice that I don't think this is an isolated incident. I would draw your attention to board member Wolf's profile on the Department of Education website. It does mention that he studied at Ave Maria School of Law. I searched, as a licensed attorney, I searched the Texas Bar website to see if there was a licensed attorney by the name of Michael Wolf. I could not find one from Ave Maria School of Law. Now that doesn't mean he isn't a licensed attorney, or that he even graduated law school, but I could not find that on the State Bar of Texas website. And frankly, I don't care if somebody graduates law school or not or anything else, but I do care when it's put on their profile for elected office that might give people the wrong perception that one has certain credentials that one does not, or vice versa, or it's in any way ambiguous. Putting aside that, I would just remind you all that there is existing board policy right now that says that no HCDE entity can be named after an individual. And I believe that was put in by board member Michael Wolf's his own urging. So I would ask, why would this board now change this to name it after Mrs. Wolf, considering that policy is in place in the first place? Simply put, I find this really obnoxious, and I think these rules of honesty and keeping to one's word just don't apply here. And I just don't think elected officials, people who don't believe in such honesty, should be rewarded. They should be scorned. And frankly, in my estimation, it is the height of white privilege that somebody can lie about their education, lie about their commitment to fiscal responsibility, lie about their intent to improve this entity when in fact you're trying to destroy it, while at the same time request 53 grand to rename it after your mother. I've seen conservatives here on this board act reasonably, and I say that in earnestness. And so there's no rational reason to spend money on a name that isn't named after a Confederate or some type of far more controversial name. Spend 53 grand when 18 grand was way too much for the recovery school. So for that reason, I would ask you all to consider rejecting that measure.
Mr. Superintendent, just as a statement of fact, I never approved any biography that's on a website. I did not know that there was a biography. I studied for 1 year at Ave Maria School of Law. I've never claimed I graduated from a law school. So if that, I'd like to look at that biography because I did not approve of a biography to go in there.
Duly noted.
Good.
Anything else? So we're going to move on with the next. Okay, we're going to move on with the next person. Looks like Kara DeRoca, maybe, or I'm probably butchering your name.
That's okay. My name's Kara DeRocha. Hello, board. Thank you for having us here today. I understand that there is a proposal on the table to rename a building after a wonderful teacher who happens to be the mother of a current board member. And I have some points I'd like to make about this. So my first question is this within current board policy? Is it within current board policy to name buildings after people? I believe that my understanding is that it is not current board policy. In fact, there's something out there that says, no, we should not be naming buildings in HCDE after people. And I say this in all kindness and fairness. HISD has gotten into quite a bit of a problem because of naming buildings after people. And it costs a lot of money if you ever need to change that name. The cost of this is claimed to be $54,000. And I would also propose that when HISD was needing to change names of schools, it ended up costing far more than was originally estimated. So I'd encourage you to go back and look at those numbers very carefully, not just look at signage, but look at things as simple as changing your letterhead, changing business cards for every single person, the cost it would take when you have to have all of your electronic files updated, including your websites. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is, there are several schools in HISD that are still named after people. And those people are people like Lovett Elementary. It's named after the first president and founder of the Rice Institute, now known as Rice University. And Coulter Elementary. Coulter Elementary was named after Jenny Catherine Coulter, who taught at Poe Elementary in HISD, and she died protecting students from a bomb that exploded in a school. And Harrod Elementary is also named after Captain Gary L. Harrod, who was a Texas Air National Guardsman who, once he took off in his plane, had engine failure and refused to eject so that he could save families because he was worried that he was going to crash into suburban homes. And he stayed in that plane until it crashed into a field to make sure that he protected the people around him. That's a pretty high threshold for naming a building after someone. And I'm just not sure that, I'm sure Mrs. Wolf was a wonderful person, but does she meet that high of a threshold? So I'd just like you to take all three of these things into consideration when you're talking about naming a building after someone. It's the cost, it's the vetting, and there's a pretty high threshold out there. It's already been established. So thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Moving along. Let's see, we did our open forum. Okay, now we're at reports and presentations. Is there any, was it announcements? Association of Business, School of Business Officials, International ASBO for HCDE. We're going to have a comprehensive annual financial report. Jesus Mesquez, I think this is you.
Yes. You have a copy of the 2 awards that we just received, and we have the business office here present. I'd like to recognize them because you have 2 awards that were received from the Association of School Business Officials International and the Government Finances Officers Association for the comprehensive annual financial report ending August 31st, 2016. This is the highest form of recognition for a government to receive this. We've received this the last 7 years, and for both reports. So I'd like to recognize them as they stand there. They're here before you. You have an outstanding team of folks that daily, their motto is excellence every day, and so everything that they do is to make sure that we support the mission of the department. Along with that, on the next item, we also have a green handout, and I'd like to call on the purchasing office to stand up and be recognized as well, because this is the first one for us. This is the first national award from the National Purchasing Institute. This is the Procurement Achievement of Excellence in Procurement from the NPI, and this is the first time that the department receives it. It is a very strenuous type of award in application, and so this is the first one, and we're in one of 50 local governments or districts that have received it. You have a letter, and then you have the number of recipients nationwide of who has received those, and they are among your purchasing department, among the elite in the state and also in the nation. So thank you. All this could not be happening with the support of the divisions, and then of course we have a great attorney who looks at how to make sure that we do have we're in compliance. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Don, you got any reports from the board feasibility subcommittee?
The only report that I have for today is that the Public Finance Corporation has taken the first step in moving forward with the ABC West new school and agreeing to negotiate a contract with an architect.
Excellent. Do we have any other reports from board members concerning attendance, participation in a board or HCD related conference, event, activity, or committee? Accolades for an HCD staff member or other deserving person? Mrs. Diane Troutman.
Thank you. I think in light of what happened this week in Charlottesville, I think that people really need to hear from their leaders. So speaking in my individual capacity and not as a representative of this board, I would like to say that racism, bigotry, and white supremacy have no place in our society. I think they should never be tolerated, and we should not remain silent about it. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Mrs. Erica Lee Carter.
I'd like to thank Diane in her personal capacity for those words. I'd like to wish our school district summer starting this week, those next week, a safe start to the school year. Also, our schools that are starting, I think the 28th. I won't be with you on your kickoff, but I do know that our teachers, school leaders, our maintenance crews, everybody involved are going to do their best. It's our first year without D. Maddox Hall, but I know everyone's prepared to step up and help all of our students achieve and understand these challenging times that we're in. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. So we're going to move on to the monthly finance reports. And Jesus, you're back up.
Bless you. All of our financials are posted on our website. We also have a summary report by your packets that we produce once a month, and this is just a summary of all the 80-page plus documents that we have posted on our website. We also have a 1-minute briefing that is also posted once a month to explain each of the areas in the financial statement. General fund balance as of July 31st, we have $33,756,111. Liabilities of $1,637,076. Fund equity of $33,756,111. Our unaudited fund balance as of July 31st, $28,272,085. And you see all the different designations and restrictions from the fund balance. Our financial ratios as of July, we have one more month left to go. 33% of the year in our fund balance ratio to expenditures. Working capital, we're at $32 million. The unassigned fund balance ratio at 45%. Debt to income ratio at 8%. Our tax revenue to total revenue ratio at 23%. Indirect cost ratio, we're at 2%. Our fee for service ratio, we're at 21%. Our fee for service revenue growth ratio, we're at 8%. And then you have the budgeted activity every month. This month is the last month that we will amend the budget for FY16 and 17. And so this is the activity of all the amended budgets. So revenues for the year as of July, we're at 93% in the general fund. Overall, in all funds, we're at 81%. So we have 1 month, which is about 6-7% to go for the year. In terms of our amendments, we're at $122 million in terms of appropriations and revenues of $112.4 million. Again, a lot of the grants that come in the last few months, so that increases our budget. So our budget process is dynamic in that we amend it every month for any grants that we receive each month. Our expenditures, we're at 78%. So with 1 more month to go, we'll still under budget, and so we should have excess at the end of the year. And so we're at 71% also overall year to date. So our revenues are looking good going into the last month, and our expenditures also as well, looking at 1 more month to go. Our donations year to date, we're at $58,765, in cash of $4,303, in kind of $54,462. And these are primarily from Case for Kids that we receive some donations. Our tax calculator for our values, we're at right now at 418 billion. We started the year roughly around 418 billion, so most of the values have been certified, and so we're 418 billion 312,612,000. So looking for the 2017 tax roll, will be north of that number, about 430 some million for the new year. Our tax collections, we're at 99.99%. Keep in mind that there's one line item, and discussed that the other day on delinquent tax. We projected 200,000, but because we had so many refunds, we're not going to make that number. But that was made up by the current taxes, and so we're at 99.9%. So as you can see, we actually had only 32,000 collected from 200,000 in delinquent collections, but that has been made up by the current tax at 99.9. And so as we look into the calculations for next year, we need to bear in mind some of those refunds, and hopefully those not continue, or those lawsuits that get filed for tax refunds from the taxpayers, from the large taxpayers, I may add. The disbursements for the month are 4,002,166, 454 checks, 455 transactions, and 7 transfers. All that, the detail of that is in your packet. All the transactions and the registers are posted on our website as well for public view. Segment division for major divisions, educational certification, minus 359,347. Records management, 68,802. Again, one more month to go, so that should clear that and be able to be even. School-based therapy, 577,615. Schools, 1,448,883. And of course, Choice Partners Cooperative, that is at 55% ratio, profit ratio, or transfer to the general fund of 2,162,294 year to date for the current year. So that's money that's coming into the general fund from the Choice Fund. Our amendments for the month, there's two, one in general fund and one in the special revenue funds, or our grants. The general fund is $225,000, and it's a combination of additional retirement leave benefits that we've had more folks retire, and so we needed to move some money from the reserve to the retirement leave account, and then also insurance costs and reimbursements for $100,000. And then we also have a transfer of legal fees from between the line items. We budget the line item in one line, and then we move it out to all the different divisions. So it's just a transfer with no effect on fund balance. Our grants that come in special revenue, we receive $4.4 million. One of them, which is in the agenda, is the 21st Century, and also the new Houston Endowment Grant. And so all those total to $4,430,873. Again, none of these have been executed. After the board meeting, then we will update the ledger based on this change. Construction update, again, is the same information. We just had the PFC meeting, and so we don't have any additional information regarding our bond payments or the timeline for the PFC. Any questions before I go into the investment report? Okay.
Questions?
Okay. We have the investment report next, and so I'll go quickly on that one. Our portfolio as of July 31st, we're at $43,965,082. The PFC funds from the bond are $11,683,756. The majority of the funds are in Techstar, TechSpool, and Lone Star, and some at Chase Bank. And then, of course, we have the PFC portfolio, which 92% is at TechSpool, Bank of Texas, and JP Morgan Chase. The change from a year ago, it's $12,633,000, or a difference of 40%. Primarily is because of the PFC, that we did not have a PFC funds a year ago at this time. So now we have those funds now, so you'll see the difference in the change from 1 year ago. Everything is pretty much in overnight pool, and so our rates, we received interest of $120,292. Year-to-date earnings of $21,746 in the PFC, and we're earning 0.96% yield. And so you can see the difference in the yields from, say, a year ago. It's a lot more, so we're almost going to break the 1% barrier, so we're going to start leveraging or extending out some of our investments into 3 to 6 months, so that we can climb that interest rate ladder as it starts going up. Questions on the investment report?
One, we're
Sure.
basically 32 million in the black, right? That's what I get from this.
The 32 million is what's called, we have our investments.
We're not in debt. Have 32 million in the black. We have investments of 32 million, right? So we're not in debt.
45 million.
Okay. So we're 45 million in the black.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions for Dr. Misquith? Fantastic job. Okay. see where we are. Okay, now we're going to the consensus items. Yes, I need a motion. Okay. Yep. Anybody have anything they want to take out of the consensus items? Anyone want to reserve anything out of the consensus items? I'm going to start on this side if it's okay, Mike.
G12 and H number 1 and H number 4.
G12, H1 and 4?
Yes.
Okay. Don.
D15 and E.
D15 and E. Erica, do you have anything?
Yes, H2, H is in hat 2.
H2. Has H. Mike beat you to the punch. Okay. Diane.
B1.
B1. Okay. Dr. George Moore, do you have anything you'd like to take out? Okay. Okay. Besides the items, actually, now I guess I have to ask for a motion to pass all the items, save and accept thank you, Don.
Second.
And we got a second by Mike. Okay. Is there any discussion? Anybody want to discuss this? Glad they don't. Okay. Let's move it along. Okay, so now I'm going to call to vote. Whether we're going to approve all the items we save and accept the ones we spoke of on the consensus agenda. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Passes unanimously. Who said we can't do stuff unanimously? Okay, so I guess the next thing we do, we go through the items. So, going through them, I guess alphabetically. Let's go to B1. Am I doing it right? Okay, thank you, Erica. Do I have a second for B1? Thank you, Diane. Do we have any discussion for B1? No discussion? Okay. So I'm going to move that we pass, B1. I move that we vote, excuse me. I'm getting the hang of this, Erica. Okay. I'm going to move that we vote for B1. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. So it was 501. Excellent. Okay. The next item was D15, I believe. Okay. Do I have a motion for D15? Thank you, Ms. Troutman. Do I have a second? Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Carter. So we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any discussion about?
Yes.
Okay, Don, what would you like to talk about?
Can somebody please explain to me what equity and culture education is?
Yes, I'll take that. Fort Bend reached out to us and asked if we would support them in doing a culture and equity study. And so what that means is we'll go to the district and conduct focus groups and talk with their teachers and the communities and give them an idea of what those discussions revealed to support the district in planning and meeting their profile for a graduate.
Kimberly, and if you don't mind, Ms. McLeod, it says a revenue contract. This is a contract where we're receiving revenue?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we're getting money out of this deal?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Anybody have any more questions or discussion?
Can you explain that a little bit? I mean, what are you trying to evaluate?
What we will be looking at would be when, and we'll ask questions about their perception of the school experience and the involvement and the engagement and what they would like to see and what's been done. And then they give us that feedback, and we analyze, we look for patterns in that feedback, and we report that feedback back to the district for the district to make decisions on how well they are meeting the mark or the goals, the objectives they set for themselves, and what they would like to do to move forward and creating the alignment that they're looking for with their goals, the objectives through their climate and the culture of their community.
Have you ever done this before?
This would be the first time that we've done a culture and equity assessment.
So will this be available to other districts or anybody else that would like us to perform this same type of?
Yeah, if they have interest, this was a request, and I assume that once we complete this study, other districts may also be interested. It's something that is done in other districts, a few in the state of Texas and others outside of the state of Texas, to help districts really determine what their professional development needs are, their curriculum and instruction and planning needs are. So it's not uncommon. I would say, though, it is a developing trend that I would expect to see perhaps some more interest.
Okay. Does the interlocal specify to some extent the goals of the contract?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's in our contract.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The item, the beginning date is on August 3rd, 21st. The agenda item reads August the 7th, but it's August the 21st, so we need to make a change on the date.
Okay. Do we need to can we do a friendly change, or do we need to make a motion for a change, Sarah?
As long as Dr. Troutman and Ms. Lee, who made the motion and seconded, agree to that change, then we're fine. We agree.
Okay. That's good. Is there any more discussion on this agenda item? Okay. So having had our discussion, having had a motion and it being seconded, now let's put this to a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining. Passes unanimously. Let's move down to E. A motion for E. And we have a second. Okay. Does anybody want to have a discussion for E?
I just have a question here, and show my ignorance. What does adult basic education consist of?
Adult basic education is education before college, so anything, it's preparation for the high school equivalency. So any education that is basically before college for adults. So typically it involves preparation for the GED and improvement in reading and math and other basic academic skills.
Can you explain that a little bit more for me?
Sure.
But basically, are you educating people as to what they can expect in college, or?
We serve adults who typically don't have a high school diploma, and when they come to us, they are assessed in their level of reading and math, and we provide them with classes to improve those skills with the goal of initially getting a GED or in a high school equivalency, and then moving on to work or college.
Okay, so it's very much attuned with the GED then.
Yes.
Basically, it's remedial classes?
You could say it that way, yes. It's for individuals who have low-level skills in reading and math.
Any more discussion? Having done our discussion, let's put this up for vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining. Passes unanimously. Now we're going to move down to G12. Do I have a motion for G12? Thank you, Mrs. Troutman. Do I have a second for G12?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. We should have some discussion. Who would like to have discussion on this?
Well, I'm interested to know what Miramar City, the city of Miramar in Florida, wants to do with us. Just sign up for the co-op, or?
Good afternoon. The city of Miramar, as most of our out-of-state members, kind of finds us, but actually we have we quiz them a lot of the time as far as why they join. The city of Miramar is actually one of our vendors that is based that has a strong presence here in Texas, that we've kind of expanded geographically in and outside of the state of Texas, and they've had discussions on their end, and City of Miramar says we'd love to deal with you via the Choice Partners contract in Florida.
And do you have information about the city of Tulsa, Arizona? The last one on the item.
City of Tulsa, Arizona. Oh, that's a Union Elementary School District.
Texas and Union.
Yes. We don't have a specific note on that, and likely it's likely one of our vendors. It's either one of our vendors, number one, or internet search. We find that as a very common reason, just an SEO.
It's not Texas and Union, it's just Union Elementary, okay.
Union Elementary School District in Tolleson, Arizona. Yes, sir. Yes, it's I don't have a specific note on that. It's one of the two. It would either be a specific vendor that's reached out to them, or internet search. They've found us on an internet search.
All right.
Any more questions? All right. Now Don, please?
Yes, sir.
No? Okay, we ready to vote? Let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstain, raise your hand. Excellent. Passes. Oh, yeah. Trustee Wolf abstained, and so did Moore. Do I need to say when someone abstains? No, I just didn't know if he's. Okay. Thank you, Erica. Okay. So now we've moved on to H. H1. Do I have a motion for H1? Thank you. Do I have a second? Excellent. Do we want to have any discussion on H1?
Well, there's two items in there I'd like to actually vote on separately if we can.
Okay.
From the rest.
So do I got a...
That would be the Zeben Foundation Properties and the Rogers Morrison Grover LLP.
We're on H as in hat 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at H4.
Okay, so we're at H1. Do we have any discussion on H1?
Yes.
Don, please.
Is this a renewal, temporary renewal of a lease?
This
as
is an
opposed to a new lease?
Annual renewal. The RFPs only go one in 12 months, so this is just the renewal.
Well, if y'all would, actually it says renewal, but so it's basically you're just extending it for a period of time.
Right, 12 months.
Yeah, okay.
It'll come every year.
So when you say it's a temporary lease, it's because you're preparing a new school to move to?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a question. Is that the same property that we've had issues with the property owner? No. Okay.
No. That's on the next, another agenda.
All right.
Any more discussion? We discussed that. Okay. So now let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, all abstaining, passes unanimously. Okay. Now we're at H2. Do we have a motion for H2?
I would actually like to make a motion to table H2.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to table H2. Do we have discussion, Sarah? Let's have some discussion if people want to have discussion.
And I apologize, Mr. Colbert, for not asking you about this earlier, but looking into the documentation, I have concerns that one general consultant, I know sometimes we don't put whatever the RFQ was, but I don't see any details. I have no idea what they're working on. Of course, this would be on an annual renewal, long period of time where they can just automatically get renewed. I'm concerned about the number of consultants that replied, and I know we always hear say, oh, we cannot determine how many people apply. I disagree with that at times. And I also have a concern with actually who ended up, not because I know none of these consultants at all, let me say that, but I'm also looking at the scoring, and I'm questioning our selection. So I would like more information prior to voting.
On page 519, each of the consultants, there is on the parentheses, the type of service that they're providing. For example, Carol Cooper Consulting, Public Procurement Training, Dana Lee, Business Office Administrative Assistance, Olivier Inc., Administrative Support for Construction, Engineering, and Transportation. Those are the categories that they submitted, and so those are that's the type of work that they would be engaged if we would needed to.
But we had another item, I cannot remember the month, that was like general, and you had all these items listed. If I'm going to apply, I don't know what y'all sent out, but these are vastly different services. So I have no idea what you sent out where people would know, oh, I could whittle it down to one of these items and not have to have skills in all three of those different areas of consulting. I'm not comfortable voting on this right now. I appreciate you showing me that.
When we do the RFP, we identify the categories, which a consultant can submit their proposal based on the category that they have expertise in. Short of that, then we'd have to do a RFP for each category, and we would have to bring that to you every month. To do that, and we can do that. It's just be more costly because we have to post each RFP separately.
I guess my concern with this one is if you have an RFP with skills ranging from public procurement to support for construction engineering, who does? I just don't understand it. I'm not comfortable voting on it. I'm not going to argue with you right now.
Are there any more questions? Dr. Moore?
So you're saying that the three listed here and those that you have in parentheses, their description, that's where they're going to consult for?
Right.
Okay. So the only one have a concern with, and not that big a concern, but is the administrative support for construction, engineering, and transportation. If you could just elaborate on that for a moment.
Well, they'll have different skill sets, and so in this case, they want to consult on those areas. I don't have the proposal with me to elaborate on that, but we can come back and provide more information on that.
I mean, you show in here that you went through 620 different invitations and you got 50 responses back, and out of those 50, you chose these three. That's how I'm reading that.
Right, but we also have a number that we still need to evaluate because there were so many of them to evaluate. So we're identifying those and bringing to you every month. This is an RFP that is open for the whole year.
All right, thank you.
So you will see this type of proposal brought to you every month because there will be new ones. Mm-hmm.
Any more discussion? We did have a motion, we had a second, and then the motion to table, then we had a second. Then we were discussing the table, right? But we were discussing the table, weren't we?
Yes.
We're discussing the motion to table. The next, I believe, Doctor. Anybody else want to discuss the motion to table? Okay. Having had a motion to table and a second, now we're going to put it up for vote. All in favor of tabling, raise your hand. All opposed tabling, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Okay. Item is tabled until the next meeting. Was, or maybe it's tabled indefinitely, I don't know. Okay, it's just, so it's just tabled. Just, okay, cool. We table stuff here. Okay, so, moving on to H4.
I'd like to make a motion to consider this, but consider Zeben Foundation Properties and Rogers Morris and Grover LLP separately from the rest of it.
Would we first, as procedural, would we divide it first, or would we?
I believe.
I just made a motion to do that.
So it's making a motion divided, okay.
Or it's your motion to approve all of the vendors with the exception of
Yes.
those two.
Well, and to vote on those after.
And then you can make, if somebody wants
Yeah.
to make a subsequent motion.
Okay, what's the motion for, because I got lost?
Motion to approve this item with the exception of the Zeben Foundation Properties and Rogers Morris and Grover LLP.
Okay. Do I have a second for that? Okay. We got a motion, we got a second. Do we want to have any discussion?
I'd just like to ask trustee his reasoning.
Well, with Zeben Foundation Properties, I believe I know the owner or one of the owners, and I'd like to consider the law firm separately because of things, the RFQ that we've got coming up.
Any more discussion? Okay, so,
Yes.
okay. Now that we made a motion and we're done with our discussion, let's take a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. This- Okay, okay. You want to recount? Okay. Do it again? Okay, we're going to do it again. Okay, and we might need to take a break pretty soon after this because it sounds like we're getting tired. Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Okay, so then now we're going to, do we have a motion to consider the other two separately? I mean, whether they're going to be separately, do we have?
I move that we approve Zeben Foundation Properties
Okay, so we have a
for this
motion.
expenditure
Okay, we got a motion to approve Ziedman.
previously procured.
And we got a second. Do we have any discussion? No. Okay, let's,
I'm just abstaining because I know those people.
That's the whole purpose.
so let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Do we got any other motions related to this agenda item 4? Are we going to move on? Okay.
Are you making that motion, Don? No. Are you making a motion?
I move that we approve Rogers Morris and Grover LLP for the expenditures which have previously been procured for FY 2018.
Okay. Do we have a second? Okay. Do we have any discussion?
Yes. This is the law firm that currently represents us, and we have an item in process to go out for a request for proposals for a new law firm or the same law firm. So I think that we don't, as I understand it, this is for the entire fiscal year 18 that this item is?
That's what it says.
Somebody?
This is our projection for the fiscal year. We've already procured this, and it doesn't preclude you down the road from anything. This is because we have a CH local policy that requires us to bring it to you for a second approval, all those items that you approved.
So when did we approve it to start first time?
When you awarded the original contract.
You mean way back when?
Mhm.
Okay, so
This is
this would not prevent a termination of the contract?
No, this is a routine item that happens every year.
Okay. I'm happy.
Any other discussion? I have a question. Just if we said no to this, what damage, if anything, would it cause? What would be the repercussion of saying no?
Well, most of the any item over 50,000, we're violating our own CH local policy, and so I would suggest that we do not violate our own policy, which is embedded in CH local, which is approval of contracts that are cumulative over 50,000.
But besides violating our own policy, is there any damages that occur? Do we know?
Well, I cannot pay.
Are you saying that you have a bill now that is in excess of 50,000?
We have cumulative bills that happens, throughout the year.
Please.
But that doesn't answer your
Thank you,
question.
Chair.
Well, the fiscal year 18 hasn't even started yet.
Superintendent has
Yes.
been asked to respond.
Let's hold our horses. We're going to go one at a time.
Yeah.
We're going to do this with a little bit of class, all right?
Fiscal year 18
Don?
has not started.
Right.
Don,
How could you have over 50?
Don,
Not right now.
let's let the superintendent speak. I recognize him. It's okay. I'll recognize you in a minute. Go on.
So, Dr. Amesqua, each month, really actually every week, I sign checks and they'll give approval for us to pay our bills. And certainly each month we get billed,
Right.
not only from our legal consultants, but others. And so if this wasn't approved, it would compromise my ability to be able to keep us in good standing as far as being able to pay our bills. And I think what you were referring to is the aggregate amount of the bills would certainly exceed $50,000, even though we don't do that per month. Is
Right.
that correct?
That's correct.
So I would ask for the board's approval of this item so we could stay in good standing. We already have a policy or an action item that's been approved by the board to seek out or implement an RFP regarding our legal services. This does not compromise that process.
That's correct.
And we still have the opportunity to change directions if we so choose moving forward.
That's right.
Anybody else would like to have some more discussion? Don?
No.
Okay, anybody else want to say anything? Okay. So, having had the motion seconded and having had a good discussion, let's move to vote on this. All in favor of H4, raise your hand. All opposed to H4, raise your hand. All abstaining from H4, raise your hand. It passes. Okay. So we're going to move. Do we have, I think we did it. Oh, we got, no, I guess we didn't. I won. I didn't write down I won. Good eye.
Oh, sorry.
Then we did it all. Take a break?
No.
We want to move on.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Trustee, I'd like to request that we move action item 8, O as in orange, to the front, given that we had speakers on that topic.
Okay. Do we have a second to move it? Okay. Do we want to have any discussion on this or not?
I move to close discussion.
Okay.
Oh,
So we don't have any discussion of moving it?
so you need a motion is what you need?
No, we have a motion.
Oh, okay.
We have a second to move it. I'm asking if any of y'all want to talk about moving it. Right? Okay, we don't want to talk about moving it. That's fine. And okay, so now we're going to take a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Okay. So it failed. That's true. So we're going to. Are there any other preliminary motions that someone would like to make? No? Okay. So we're going to go through the non-consensus items. We're going to go to 8A. Is that correct? Am I doing that right? Okay. Do I have a motion for 8A? Okay. Excellent. Do we have any discussion on 8A? No discussion. Let's move it for vote. All voting in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. What did I do? Okay, so you want to do we want to do a recount? 6-0. Okay, 6-0. No recounts needed. Okay. Okay. 8B. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to table this.
Okay. I'm confused now. I have a.
I made a motion to accept.
So what do I? Okay. So I think I did recognize Dr. Moore first. He did say it first. I think that'd only be fair. Okay. So he had a second for that. Okay.
No, they approved it on the way
What did he
through.
do? What motion did he make?
He made a motion
To-
that we
to
consider
accept.
it.
To vote on it.
To vote on it. Okay. Do we want to have any discussion on this?
Yes.
Okay. Don?
I don't want to jump into this. I don't know that everybody has had a chance. I think Superintendent has talked to everybody about his possible 3 recommendations. My personal opinion is that we need to name this something that has a common knowledge or usage, as opposed to something that everybody's going to have to go to the Latin dictionary to find out what the word means. And so I would hope that we would reconsider this at a later date and consider some additional names and actually maybe even seek names from the employees of the department.
Any other?
I'd like to hear from the superintendent, and I think, is this your item that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, several members of the department and I sat down for a good bit of time, along with the assistance of Dr. Moten, our principal of that campus, to try to come up with a name. After attending several national conferences, statewide conferences, attending multiple meetings with our recovery community, both locally and nationwide, one thing that has been consistent in naming facilities to assist our students with sobriety, and that is that you don't have a name that relates directly to the addiction or the problem that got them to the facility. That adds to the stigma of the organization and the service that we hope to provide. Certainly it brings in apprehension to the parents when they turn their kid over to a school that might be called the drug school or the recovery school or something like that. Students and parents don't want it reflected on their transcripts or even to have to say a name that would associate them with some form of trouble. Ultimately, the name Fortis Academy was chosen and purposely chosen because it was Latin, because we would like for our students to be able to explain the purpose of the name of the school, which would ultimately go into the purpose of the school as people were to visit it. We want our students to have ownership of the school and the reason that they're there. And I think it is a name of force and strength that would certainly be consistent with any student who attended the school. I think the name Fortis Academy is an excellent name, and I think it sounds well and the optics of it bode well for the organization.
Dr. Troutman?
First of all, I hope that students are going to be using a dictionary. This is a school. So I think that's a good lesson to learn. But we're also learning a lesson here today, too, that look at all the uproar over naming a school when you let it go on and drag it out. I think the three choices were fine. The superintendent did meet with each one of us, as he said, and discussed it at length. So I can't imagine postponing this.
More?
Yes. I personally like the name. My only concern is there is a Fortis Business College in Houston. There is a Fortis Institution in Houston. There is a Fortis College in Houston. I mean, there's several. So we really got to make sure the academy sticks to it. Otherwise, it can be quite confusing.
Yes, sir. And that was one of the frustrations, and probably added to the length of our original meeting, is that every name we seemed to come up with, it was used for something, whether it was in the city of Houston, the state of Texas, or nationally. So I think that based on the dynamics of the school and the people who reside in it, certainly the professionals that we will have in that school, there will be no question what Fortis Academy is and what it does. It won't get confused with something else.
Any more discussion?
And I would just, sorry, thank you, Dr. Moore, for bringing that up. In such a large region, it is hard to find names that don't overlap, even amongst the 25 school districts in our county. So I appreciate the committee. And also, since we are following policy, it's not named after a person, so we don't have to worry about any issues with that. This is a Latin word that's been around for thousands of years, and so it won't change.
Any more discussion? I do have a question. Is there any immediate need to name the building? Will it cause any damage if we don't name it today?
Thank you, Chair. Absolutely. We are getting to the point now that the board has approved the developmental plan and released the money to begin this process. Their next step would be for the board to approve the name, and then we are going to have a groundbreaking ceremony. Ms. Spencer has already been putting pressure on me to get the invitations out to invite some of our elected officials in that area to be part of this. Certainly we're going to invite the superintendents and many other members, but it would be good to be able to put the name of the school on the invitations. Our goal is we aspire to do that sometime in September. And so this is very timely, and I'm hoping that the board can approve it today so we can proceed with some of the other logistics.
Okay. Any other?
Yeah, I would say that if we vote for this today, I would like for a description of what what Fortis means to appear as sort of a under the academy, like striving for whatever or doing whatever. So that people don't have to go to the dictionary. I mean, most of the people students that we're going to serve, this is not going to be a word that they're familiar with, and maybe not even ever heard of before. So I think that having under the title of the school basically what the creed or the word means would be very appropriate.
Well, Trustee Sumners, I think that's a good suggestion. We had talked about that when you walk into the school, that we might have some descriptive language in there. And to Dr. Troutman's point that you made earlier, we're excited about being able to increase our students' vocabulary.
This one out. Anybody want to say any more? Okay, good. Let's vote on this. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Okay. Okay. So moving on to 8C. Consider approval of estimated reserve fund balance for non-spendable, restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned under Governmental Accounting Standards Board GASB 54. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Moore and Dr. Troutman, thank y'all both. Do we want to have any discussion on this?
This is a required information that we have to do at the end of the year for our committed and assigned and unspendable projected. We don't know until the audited numbers come in, but this is what we projected based on for August 31st, 2017. So we need to have this approved so that as we end up the year, then we fill in the categories based on this projection.
Yes. Cool. Okay, let's have a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Okay, excellent. Passes. Okay, let's move to the next. Consider possible action on certification and anticipated debt collections rate for the tax year 2017, certification of the excess debt collection rate for the tax year 2016, and calculation of the 2017 effective tax rate and rollback calculations to be prepared by Harris County Tax Assessor Collector. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Troutman. Dr. Moore, do we have any discussion on this?
Could you please explain what you mean by the word debt?
Debt collections, if you had a interest and sinking fund rate, which we do not have any rate for debt service. So that portion would be zero. This is information that we receive from the tax assessor collector so that they can prepare the effective tax rate calculation. So we need approval from the board so that we can wait to get the calculations. We will review those and we will compare them to our calculations and make sure that they're correct, and then we'll bring them to you, to the board, for approval.
As I understand it, this is just in response to an inquiry from the Harris County Tax Assessor Collector for our estimation of the debt collections percentage, which is 0.
Right.
Yeah.
Any more discussion?
And effective tax rate.
So no more discussion. So let's vote on this if it's all right with y'all. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, all abstaining. Passes unanimously. Okay. Let's move on to 8D. Consider possible action on certification and anticipated debt collections rate for the tax year. Oh, I did that. Phew, I sure did do that. Deja vu. Okay. 8E. Consider an endorsement for an individual running for Texas Association of School Boards Board of Directors Region 4. The following individual has requested endorsement: Charles Cunningham, Humble HISD. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
You know him, Don.
I'll second it. Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any discussion?
I know Mr. Cunningham, he's a fine person. However, the last time this came before the board to do an endorsement like this, I believe it was when Kay Smith was board president, we decided not to do that anymore. So I don't know if it went into a policy or was it just something we decided not to do that time? Not doing it. Not policy, okay.
Eric?
Yes. Who? Okay. Yes, Mrs. Carter.
Sorry, I was a
Trustee
little.
Carter.
Did we just receive a request from the trustees? Okay, because I don't. Did he submit any information with it, or just because there's nothing in there?
Actually, he submitted an email to both Mr. Evans and myself. It was several weeks ago. And as to Charles Cunningham, he's been an advocate for Harris County Department of Ed. He attends our monthly impact training meetings. I mean, he's like a loyal follower to that, very active, and you know that, Dr. Troutman. He's a good guy. And board members throughout the state seek out the approval for other board members to get in these positions. And you know, I have no issue whatsoever with him serving as representation for Region 4. I think he'd be a good candidate. But they're going to have to get approval from boards in order to be able to be elected to do that. They can't just do it on their own.
Is anyone else?
I can answer your question.
Oh, okay.
No one else filed in time, so he'll be the only candidate. And he's the incumbent. that's the difference, I think, between this year and last year, Diane.
Well,
on
yeah,
this?
yes.
Dr. Moore?
I just, Mr. Colbert, give me a clarification. For him to run for this position, does he have to have a board, some board to approve that? Did I
Multiple.
misunderstand what you were saying?
Yeah.
It's HCDE board. He's just asking for this board endorsement, but then he has to run for TASB.
He's got to get several endorsements from school boards.
Yeah. So there's multiple districts throughout the county who are, this is the exact same agenda item for him, for them.
But for the, let me make myself clear, but for that position, he needs a school board recommendation. Is that a requirement to be able to run?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
I think it's 7 or 8. Maybe I'm wrong on the number, but
yeah.
Well, here's my problem. I mean, I don't really care who it is. I don't like for us as a board to endorse somebody in a political candidate. But if it's a requirement that he seek different boards to run, then, I understand that's a little bit different. But I don't want to get into the political endorsements.
And to be honest, my perspective of this really isn't as a political position. It's really as a representation of public education for this region. It's not even associated, remotely.
I just have a hard time that a board is required for him to run.
Well,
a board approval.
I'm not sure if that's true. What the website says is that each fall, this is on TASB's website, under TASB Board of Directors, each fall at our delegate assembly, board members from across Texas are elected to serve on TASB's Board of Directors. But it doesn't say, is it required that they get X number of endorsements? That I'm unaware of.
Yeah, I would find that difficult to believe.
No, Don? Oh.
no, I was just
Trustee
going
Wolf?
to reiterate, you do have to, as my understanding, you have to have a number of school boards vote to support you to do that. Then we're going to elect, I think, a delegate and alternate to TASB later today. So those delegates and alternates, those delegates would get to vote at the state school board convention in the next couple of months. But the only reason I would support doing this is because he's unopposed.
I think I found an answer, by a little Googling.
Well,
It's under, this is still from TASB's website. It says TASB Director Nomination Information. Between Monday, July 3rd and Tuesday, August 29th, 2017, school boards are invited to endorse a candidate for each position in your region, and we were in Region 4. If a majority of the active members of the region endorses a candidate, that individual will be elected to the TASB board. If at least 25%, but not a majority, endorse the candidate, that individual will be included on the official ballot at the TASB delegate assembly.
So he does have to get endorsements at least to be on the ballot, 25%. That'd be a correct statement.
Yes, sir.
Sarah,
Yes.
my question is, if he's already the only candidate eligible to run because he filed at a certain date, and he doesn't get enough, like 25%?
I don't know.
We don't know what happens.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Any more discussion? We discussed that? Okay, ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Okay, passes. Okay, we're going to 8F. Consider approving a month-to-month lease to HDW Pruitt, Texas LLC, RFP 10014YR-2 in the amount of $15,951.57 a month, pending final approval of lease terms by superintendent or his designee, fully funded by Head Start grant, and 133 students served. Do I have a motion? Trustee Troutman, do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Trustee Carter. Do we want to have any discussion on this?
Eric?
Okay.
I think this goes hand in hand with what I was asking earlier. I guess this is the property, Sarah, that we've had a lot of issues with the owner.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have a copy of the lease that we have been working with the owner to try to adjust it and make sure that we address all our concerns. And so you have another copy that we will go month to month. Next month, we will try to bring the actually replacement, so at some time in the future, we will go away from this property.
Okay. Do we have any more discussion? I have a question. As a matter of law, isn't a common law month to month?
That's probably my understanding.
Okay.
But the agreement provides much more detailed terms than just the common law month to month.
And it would be, how would it be our benefit to have more detailed terms versus the common law?
So, for example, there's a non-appropriate, and this is just off the top of my head, there's a non-appropriation provision in this agreement, which says if for any reason Head Start, we don't have sufficient funding from Head Start to make the payments, we can terminate immediately. It also has specific provisions about improvements to the property, who's going to pay for those improvements, who's going to pay for maintenance and repair of obligations, the fact that a federal interest attaches to our improvements, including those that are permanently attached like playground equipment, because they're paid for with federal money, and allows us to then take those improvements upon the termination or expiration of the lease agreement.
So it's your legal opinion that it gives us more than what the common law allows us or affords us. Would that be a correct statement?
Yes, sir. I think that the department is better protected with this lease agreement.
Do we have any other discussion? Okay. We're going to put up for vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Okay, passes. 8G, let's consider the approval of service agreement RFP 15056KJ with Julie Smith to provide student disability consulting services to HCDE Head Start Division, Early Head Start Child Care Partners for the period of September 1st, 2017 through August 31st, 2018 in the aggregate amount of $21,350 fully funded by the Head Start grant. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Do we have a second? Thank you, Dr. Troutman. Any discussion on this? Excellent. No discussion. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining? Passes. H. I don't have to read these every time, do I?
Yes.
Good. Okay, I'll read the bold. Consider acceptance of notice of award in the amount of $1,939,477 for the balance funds for the Head Start operations and training and technical assistance. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you. Trustee Sumners.
I've got a question.
Wolf.
Maybe I'm wrong, but the two numbers down below, 1.8 million, 120,000, don't quite add up to the 1.939 million. Are they supposed to, or?
I would think so.
It's about $5,000 off, I think.
Let's check some math. Can we get a second opinion of Mike's analysis, of Trustee Wolf's analysis with a calculator?
Actually, I think it's about 15,000 off now that I'm looking.
Yeah, those are
Good eye. Okay, so we need to amend this.
I believe what's left out is the training and technical assistance amount, and it would be around 15,000. So, because the total amount is 1,939,477. I am sure that that is correct. It is the balance of our. It is the balance of our training technical assistance money that's not written out in the verbiage.
How do we need to amend it is the question.
Or do we?
No, the total amount is correct.
Yeah, the total amount is correct. The detail that she's looking at is on page 714, where you have the 14,711 separately.
So the training and technical assistance line item was left out in the detail to get you to the three numbers to make the total of the 1.9 million.
Okay.
Right. So the 1,939,000 is correct.
Okay. We okay? We're okay. Do we have any more?
Just add the word including those two categories so that doesn't have to add up.
Do we have any more discussion? No. Having had our discussion, let's move to vote. All in favor, say aye. All in favor, all opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Okay. I could use a little bit of a break. Do we want to take a little bit, maybe a 10-minute break? I would very much like to take
I would like a break also.
I'll keep going if y'all want me to, but I'm trying to.
Long to go. Yeah, we do.
How many more do we have? We've got a little bit to go, so let's just take it. Let's take a 10-minute bio break if that's okay.
Say 5 minutes.
When I say 2 minutes, it's going to take 10. Okay, 5 minutes. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I got an 8:34? No, excuse me, 3:34. I'm getting tired. 2:34. I got kids at home, so it's we're taking a break at 2:32. That's what it says up there. We'll be back.
This is different from folks that volunteer, for example, one day. Right, so if the kids are having a holiday party and mom and dad show up with cupcakes and volunteer to, decorate the tree that day or whatever, that's a one-day event kind of a thing, not a volunteer thing. Much like you would have on a normal school day. So much like when y'all visited probably AB East, I think last year at the holidays. So that's what's reflected in GKG. It is not rocket science, but the board did feel like it was important, or the policy committee felt like it was important that we codify in local policy what we do. So that's what's before you.
Excellent. Do we have any discussion on this, Don?
I just started reading this stuff the night before last, and there's actually some places where we've eliminated some wording that the following wording sort of says, in effect, or assumes that you've read what's above that's been eliminated. So it's sort of what the following sort of confuses. But I'll just give that to you.
So I think
Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Is there any more discussion? Okay. And my understanding is this has already it's went through policy committee, survived policy committee, the result of policy committee, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. Okay.
We will bring these back to the board for second reading and approval at the board's will at the September meeting.
Okay. And we don't have to vote on it?
Mr. Nguyen, if a board member had any further concerns, they can contact you before.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay.
Happy to.
Before the next meeting.
Okay. Back to M. Consider removing from the table agenda item 8.0, non-consensus, from the July 18, 2017 Board of Trustees meeting. Consider termination of the consulting contract currently in place with Hilco, effective within 45 days of the date of passage, if approved by the HCDE Board of Trustees. Okay.
Eric, I'm wondering if it might make more sense to consider N before M.
That. So do I have a motion to readjust it or move it or what?
So moved.
Motion to move in up. Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on this motion? Okay. Having no discussion, move to vote to move. We're voting to move in above M. We're voting. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Okay. Okay, so now we're at N. Consider possible action regarding issuing an RFQ, RFP for a consultant and/or political consultant. Do I have a motion? I'll move for it. I put it on the agenda. I'm moving for it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion on this?
Yes, since it was your item, can you please further define, or what is your vision? What is causing you to want us to have this position?
Sure, Trustee Carter, I'm happy to talk about that. The last board meeting, Don Sumner's, Trustee Sumner's, put on the agenda him, Trustee Wolf, and Dr. Moore put on the agenda to get rid of Hilco. And I told Don in open meeting, what do you think of doing an RFQ instead? And he was open to the idea. So I put out an RFQ instead of terminating the contract with Hilco to cast that out there, see if we can get better, see if we can get worse, see if we get the same. I thought that was a more diplomatic approach instead of going through the normal procedure we go through, instead of just voting to get rid of Hilco. So that is why I did it. Ms. Troutman.
Yeah, Eric. So is this to replace Hilco or in addition to Hilco?
And that's a good question. I think it could be either or. I think because we did get rid of prior consultants. It could be in addition, or it could be to replace Hilco. I think I saw it as an opportunity to see what's out there, to at least be able to, if we're going to replace Hilco or if we're going to get rid of Hilco, see what's out there.
I am most definitely not in favor of replacing Hilco. We have many miles to go with the legislature. Now, if you're talking about the position that Pat Strong used to have, I would entertain that. But I'm not sure where you're going with this. You're going to have to give me a little more parameters.
And I'm happy. So it says consultant and/or political consultant, right? And there was a gap gone by eliminating Pat Strong, and I'm trying to appease. I guess I'm trying to appease maybe too many people at the same time, which I can't, having kids and being married.
And being a lawyer.
And being a lawyer, I'm probably guilty of doing that. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to appease Don Sumner's to some extent, and also, if we are interested in getting another political consultant or something like that, it's the same thing. We haven't put in language to get rid of. At this point, it's just to hire or to put an RFQ.
I've got a question.
Dr. Troutman.
I think we need to be a little more worried about being accountable to our constituents more than appeasing each other, though. I think that's important.
Yeah, okay. I see, but he was first. Yes, Trustee Wolf.
I believe at one point, Don Elder was doing some consulting for us. May have been before Superintendent Colbert's time. I think he was very effective. I think we need to look into seeing what he could start doing for us again. I guess he works through Choice Partners.
Superintendent, well, I'll go back over it.
Thank you, Chair. So first, let me state this, that it is incredibly important that we have some assistance and representation both here locally and statewide. Initially, when there was an agenda item to do away with our local political consulting, that was not something that I was in favor for because of how advantageous it had been for the department locally. I would highly recommend to the board that we maintain some type of representation in Austin, regardless of this agenda item. I've said it before privately and publicly that, I will stop asking for lobbyists when people stop writing bills to shut us down. But until that happens, I'm going to ask every single time. In fact, I'll ask every month if I need to. It is critical if we want this place to exist and continue to bring the service and the savings that we bring to our taxpayers, that we have some type of protection and assistance in Austin. I am actually for having a consultant, a political consultant. I am actually for us putting an RFP out and having whoever. I would love to have the assistance here locally, but I'm absolutely against us getting rid of Hillco or anyone else that represents us in Austin. So I hope this isn't a trade that if the board approves one thing, they don't have to approve the other. Because I hope that's not what's happening here with it, the order of it being reversed. So that's all I have to say at this point about that.
Yeah.
Trustee Carter?
Sure. I have a little concern with the broad consultant and or political consultant, because that sounds like it could be even two RFPs, so I would be hesitant. And also, I would ask our board counsel, or I remember with the RFQ for legal services, it came back to the whole board. We all got to look at it. So, Trustee Dick, are you envisioning that same process?
I'd hope that it'd be even if we wanted to set up a committee for that. I'm unopposed to that. I'm fine with. I want everyone to have a piece of it, or to be part of it, to feel like if they want to feel like,
see what services we're actually asking for, especially if we're going to leave in consultant and or political consultant.
Well, I'm unopposed to
that can
narrowing
mean
the
anything.
language. I tried to keep it broad. Yes.
To amend it to political consultant. I think.
Okay. So we have a
Motion to amend.
okay.
Gotta have a second.
So we
Second.
so we have a motion to amend. We have a motion to amend the language to take out the word consultant and leave and just take out the word consultant, right? Okay. And we have a second. Do we want to have any discussion on this?
Yes, I mean, I would say either consultant or, and I would take the word and out.
Okay.
I agree.
Are we willing to do a friendly amendment to change it for consultant or political consultant?
Yes.
That's not, y'all didn't make
It's
the motion.
they're the ones that's
It's
gotta
their
agree.
motion. I'm trying to see if we have an agreement.
Yeah, I just don't see the need for another consultant with no title. I mean,
Just change
That
it to
just-
political consultant.
yeah, just political consultant should be.
And
fine.
there-
I think if we want some other type of consultant, that could be another agenda item. I would, for this item, hearing Trustee Dick's original intent, I don't feel comfortable just putting the or in there.
Is there any more discussion on this, on the amending it? Don, anything you want to say? No? Okay.
Can,
Not to add
Can-
fuel to
can-
the fire. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
if we're going to do that, I would like to put in there within 45 days.
Cool.
That would mean by the next board meeting.
Is that something that we can do? Is it something that we're agreeable to do by friendly
gonna
amendment?
For our motion, no.
No.
I'm
But
just-
They gotta
you
do
have
that.
another, after ours is voted on.
I'm just saying if we have, what agreements we have, if any. If we
Yeah,
don't have
not
any
for our
agreements,
motion.
it's fine.
Okay.
For your motion to amend, might I suggest, if you're limiting it to a political consultant, that would be an RFP, that would not be an RFQ, because an RFQ is only for professional services, and a political consultant is not a professional service. So,
Let's do that.
under the PSPA, under the Professional Services Procurement Act, or under 44031. So is that amenable?
RFP.
Just to provide some clarity to purchasing and business services who needs to be implementing any action taken today.
So we're agreeing, we are agreeing to add in that language, friendly amendment to add in to your
To
motion.
ours.
Okay. Okay. Is there any more discussion?
Sure, I'm happy to. So the motion to amend states it's a motion to amend the original motion to approve issuing an RFP for a political consultant.
No more discussion on this, right?
What about the 45 days? Did that?
They didn't agree to that.
No, they didn't agree to it.
Okay.
That's, and I guess I have a question.
We can
I have-
amend it after this
After
vote.
this motion.
But one question I have is it even possible to do it within 45 days?
I'm tired
I
of
think
no
so.
hands there.
Practically.
We'd be pressing it.
It would be tough.
I think it is.
We can talk about it after we vote on this one. If there's going to be another motion to amend, we'll see. So, okay, we're all done discussing, right? Let's vote on it. All in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining? Okay, so it fails. It doesn't pass. It's 3-0 fails.
Okay.
So it's
It's no action.
no action, no action.
I like it,
Okay, so, do we want to? Okay, now we're back to the, yeah, I'm getting confused here, but that's okay, we're back to the original motion. Do we want to, do we have any more discussion on the
I want to
original agenda?
offer a
item?
friendly amendment that says within 45 days.
I'm unopposed to the friendly amendment adding in 45 days.
Well,
Are you changing consultant and political consultant? Because that's still in
No,
there.
I'm
in the
still-
original.
You're
Hey.
on the original?
On the original, okay, I have 2 points.
Okay, because I get confused.
And if I need to split them up, I will.
We can split 'em
But
up.
within 45 days, after RFQ, RFP within 45 days, and then take the word "and" out and just say "are."
I'm agreeable to that. It'd also be who has seconded it would have to also be agreeable, right, Sarah?
That's correct.
Yeah, read that again.
It would read, consider and possible action regarding issuing an RFQ, RFP within 45 days for a consultant or political consultant.
I feel better about 65 days, that works. I'm fine.
I'm indifferent to the time. My consideration, what I do note, is that
We don't need.
I'm hearing the department saying they probably can't do it. But if y'all want to push and, encourage them to do it, I'm fine with doing that. But the department's
I want
saying
to
they probably
encourage them
can't.
to do it.
You can issue it within 45 days if
Yeah.
issuing means it's on the street, not it's back to the board. because
It's
of
on the
notice.
street.
It's on
It's
the
on the
street.
street.
That's fine.
But it doesn't take anything to write an RFQ or an RFP and get it on the street. You could do that tomorrow if you wanted to.
Right.
You could.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can do that.
Except I believe Dr. Amesco would need some clarification as to a scope of work and scope of services of what
Do
type
that
of
outside
consultant.
this board meeting.
Okay.
I mean, if
So the
board
question is, now that we have the clock on us, Dr. Moore, the question is what is the scope and expectations of the RFP, what we're requesting? Even today, we've had a lot of discussion about the RFP process and what should and shouldn't be on there. We want to get this right.
I think for the political consultants, you can use exactly what you have for Hilco. If you just use the word consultant, just take out the word political.
What
And
I'd suggest we do is set up a committee.
I think these guys can do it. They don't need a committee. These guys can put it together with you got a model for Hilco. All you're doing is here on the consultant is to give us advice on various things, plus they can also make some political.
Well, we've thought that before, but and been wrong, so.
But I think it's possible they can do that.
And just for clarification, I'm sorry, just for clarification, this is not to substitute Hilco.
Didn't say it was. This is an.
I know, I'm just want to make sure, because you're saying we can use the same language that we use for
Except for we
Hilco.
actually issued 2 RFPs, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Amesco.
Yes.
One for lobbying services
Yeah,
and
Hilco
one for
can
a
do lobbying.
political consultant.
Two different things.
Because for the lobbying services, we required them to be a registered
Registered
lobbyist,
lobbyist.
whereas for a political consultant, they were not
different
required to be an expressly excluded lobbyist.
Well, but if he's just a consultant, it doesn't have to be a lobbyist.
That's what I guess that's what I'm asking. Are
Yeah,
you
no,
are you
no, it
wanting
doesn't-
a lobbyist or are
No,
you
I'm not
wanting-
asking for a lobbyist.
Sorry. This agenda item, other than the timeline, is not including the process. So if the board wants to provide feedback, are we going to have a small committee? I don't think we need an actual agenda item saying, and we will create a committee to give information.
I'd like to offer a friendly amendment that we table this.
Trustee Sumner, I'm speaking, so I appreciate that.
I'm sorry. You stop.
Yeah.
Okay, so what, I haven't, let's.
I would request that the board see whatever draft before it's just put out on the web, that's all.
So, yeah, we might want to.
Okay, I'll offer a friendly amendment that they bring it back next board meeting with the RFQ and the RFP with the descriptions, and we'll debate it then.
I agree.
Okay, so do I have a motion? Do I have?
I made
I'm-
one.
I'm-
I just
Friendly
made-
to you, whoever did the
I'm
original
very-
amendment.
Okay, I'm very confused here.
Friendly to whoever did the original.
Okay.
Which is Mr. Dick and Mr. Wolf. If y'all agree with what what Dr. Moore just said.
Right. Exactly.
What was it that you said? Because I'm confused.
I asked
I'm
that,
lost.
that we bring back next month
Okay.
at the board meeting an RFQ and an RFP for a consultant or political
So we
consultant.
table this?
No, that's an action.
Okay.
I do not want it tabled. I want it moved forward. That gives them till next month to bring back this RFQ and RFP.
I'm fine with that. I think I'd agree to that. Would you? So then we accept that as a friendly amendment.
Okay.
I think that'd be an amendment, right?
That's correct. And so now the motion, I believe, says, would be to direct the superintendent to bring a draft RFP for a consultant or a political consultant for consideration at the September board meeting.
Yes. I want it in a way where it says consider and possible action, so that we can vote on it or amend it or change it next month, because I want to be able to vote on it next month, whatever it takes.
Okay. So are we voting, or is it tabled
Yeah,
for
I
next
think
month?
no, we
I'm
vote.
confused.
We vote now.
Okay, let's vote now. Do we have any more discussion? No more
I have a question.
Don,
Sarah,
please.
would this be going to one of our committees prior to?
It would not. It would just, the administration would draft an RFP for a
Okay.
consultant or political
All right.
consultant, and you would see it
So
next month.
we wouldn't get it except for 4 days before 4 or 5 days before
That's
we had the
fine.
vote.
You would get it in the board packet. It would be, unless you
Okay.
specifically asked for it earlier.
So, let's have a vote then. We're done. Are we done with talking? Any more discussion? Done with talking? Cool. Let's have a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. Okay, good. Now we have item M. Consider removing from the table agenda item 8.0, non-consensus, from the July 18, 2017 Board of Trustees meeting. Consider the termination of the consulting contract currently in place with Hilco, effective within 45 days from the date of passage, if approved by HCDE Board of Trustees. Agenda item submitted. Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Do we have any discussion?
Yes.
Don Summers?
Because of what we just voted on, I'd like to remove this from the agenda.
Excellent. Okay. Since he put this, can we do that, Sarah, or do I need a consensus? What are the rules here?
That's a great question.
'Cause I'm getting confused.
Can make a friendly suggestion here that we remove it for 60 days.
I'll agree to that.
It'd be tabling it. Maybe we
Table it for 60 days
Or until the October board meeting.
to the October board meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay.
If Ms. Lee and Mr. Dick, agree to that? It's a friendly amendment. Otherwise, somebody would need to make a motion to amend.
I will agree to it. I don't know if Ms. Lee will agree to it, but I do agree to it.
I will agree to it.
Okay. So we're
Until the
gonna table it.
October board meeting.
Do we need to vote?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? Okay. Having no more discussion, let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining. Good job. I thought we did a good job. Okay. Oh. Okay, now we're getting at it again. Okay. Item O, consider approval of contract. Are we at item O? Yeah. Item O, consider approval of contract with Facilities Sources 16054JN04 in the amount of $53,886 to rename and update the existing signage for North Post Oak facility. Do I have a motion? I make the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Trustee Moore makes a second. Okay. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of discussion.
Can I call the question?
You can make a motion to call the question.
So moved.
Okay. Do we have a second to call the question? I don't think we have a second to call the question. Trustee Wolf?
Okay.
I think it fails for lack of a second.
I've got a,
Okay, we're having discussion. Trustee Carter, please.
As I stated and will to strongly reiterate when this item first came up, we completely violated our own board policies when choosing a renaming of this facility. It's supposed to go through a committee. It's supposed to be discussed. And what is the purpose? We want our staff, our employees, our students to follow policies, and we're not even following our own board policies. And then we're costing the taxpayers money. And this is just one cost, as was noted, because there are other costs, letterhead, databases, telling those who used to know the name, they might be confused, is this the same building? There are other costs. I'm completely opposed to the process of the way we got to this point. We all have great people in our family that have gone on that I would have loved to have brought up and named a building after, people that have done stuff in this community. But we don't own every building, we the board. It belongs to the people of this county. And they had no say in this, and we violate our own policies. And I definitely object to this expenditure.
Thank you, Trustee Carter. Trustee Troutman.
Yes, I would agree with Trustee Carter. We've had a board policy in place for 10 years. It was even revisited once in between that time. I see no reason to change it now. I would like to ask, why so much as far as the cost? And is there a way to look at splitting it out, like just to update it? How much would it cost, the signage? Can somebody tell me that?
Real quick, one of the issues that came up with the signage is for some time our North Post Oak facility had a corner where the fence was actually modified to have a monument sign there. It's my understanding for quite some time that we had planned to put signage there because it's difficult to identify that that's an HCDE building when driving up North Post Oak. We have recently done some modifications to our logo. And so when the board directed us to move forward with changing of the name and the signage of the building, I felt it appropriate as the superintendent to change the name on the front of the building because we had to change the complete signage instead of just trying to stick a name under it. But it was also an opportunity to put the monument sign on the corner, which was something that we had planned to do the entire time. Jay can speak more about it here in a second, but I believe we did some thorough bidding, and construction's expensive, if you could speak to that.
It is. The corner monument is, it's not big and bulky, but it's got concrete, it's got stone that matches the building. It's got a nice, attractive sign that would match the front of the sign, building sign. It's just labor intensive. like Superintendent said, it's something we've been needing to do since we bought that building back in '06 or whenever it was. We've always wanted to do it. It's the perfect time to do it. The identification is required. No one knows what that building is. We have people, I've been there for 10 years. People come in all the time. Who are y'all? Why, that kind of thing. So it's just the perfect time to really identify the building at that corner, at that prime real estate corner.
Right. So is there a way to split out the cost of just updating the sign, not adding Trustee Wolf's mother's name to it?
Yeah, it's, there's nothing there at the corner now, so we'd have to put something there to build and then name. The front sign is antiquated already, believe it or not. It's only 2 or 3 years old, but it's our old logo. It's our old brand.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to update it.
Mm-hmm.
The other concern,
you could
though,
update it.
is, too, the aggregate amount of
Right.
the project. I mean, one of the things that, y'all basically, really kept us on point with is making sure we don't split out projects just to avoid bringing it to the board
Right.
for approval. The aggregate amount is going to be over $50,000, and so that's why it's on the agenda.
Okay, so.
But hold on, I'm not finished.
Okay.
However, that's the cost you have here for the total signage, but as Trustee Carter said, one of our speakers said, there are going to be additional cost to different departments, to stationery, to the website, everything. It's going to be really time-intensive, labor-intensive, and cost-intensive, which I don't know what the cost dollar amount would be for that, but you need to really think about that added to this already. I really feel that the public perception on this is not good. I do not think we would have public support on this. I just feel it gives an air of self-serving that we don't need to have. Like Trustee Carter said, it's not about us, it's about the people. So I think that the cost we have here will be exceeded if we go through with this.
Okay, Trustee Summers.
Okay. First thing, all those costs that were talked about, that we don't have a Ronald Reagan building on our stationery now that comes out of this place. And it doesn't have to be on anything over there. Most of this cost is for signage that does not exist right now. So, I mean, it's just an incremental cost to have the name put on the signage that when it is built. And I think, as I recall, I voted against naming the building for her. But at this point in time, the board voted to do it. So it's a little bit late to say we shouldn't do it. I mean, it's already been
It's never
done.
too late to do the right thing.
Well, you're going to put something on the agenda then for next month to undo what's been done?
We can do that.
Here.
Okay. Yes, Trustee Wolf.
I just want to make a point. The cost of the portion of the signage that would have the name Ethel Wolf on it would be $1,700 for each sign, so it'd come to $3,400. I've got private donors that will give that $3,400. That still brings the other part to over $50,000.
Okay. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Just to put the lettering of Ethel Wolf as part of the signage on the front of the building and ultimately on the monument sign too, is $1,700 a piece. So it's an aggregate amount of $3,400 just for the lettering Ethel Wolf.
Okay. So the total cost is $3,400 for the Ethel Wolf portion, right?
That's my understanding. That's an approximate number.
Is there any, do we have some more discussion?
Did you?
Trustee Moore.
I think you basically answered it. So regardless, let's say we named it some other name. It's still going to cost X amount of dollars plus whatever the lettering cost for that new name is.
Yes.
So if Mr. Wolf has got donations to name that lettering, then the cost is going to be incurred regardless for the rest of it.
less than what we had
Is that,
before.
I'm just trying to get clarification on that. Is that a correct statement?
The base cost, the hard construction cost is still a little over 50,000.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
That's going to be spent no matter what we put on there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Also,
But we have some other people up here.
Okay, we'll get back to you, Trustee Wolf.
Okay.
Trustee Troutman.
Okay, I get the cost thing, and if there were donors, that's very nice too. But it still doesn't address the question of, is it the right thing to do? So we can get all the donors we want, but is it the right thing for this board to stand behind? It also opens a door. We may not all be on here in the future. Other boards may come. Is this really a precedent we want to set? And is it really a precedent we want to set to name it after a family member? That's extremely, again, self-serving.
Trustee Carter.
Yes. We're the board, and we are supposed to help ensure our department and everyone operates ethically and follows our policy. And again, I did vote against it with Trustee Sumner the first time because it went completely against our policy. So just saying now, oh, it's here, we got to keep voting for it, it's never too late to do the right thing. And we're seeing that nationally now, where the right thing needs to be done for the people in general. And what really frustrates me is, I normally try not to bring up things in the past, but in this case I will. The reason this building is named Ronald Reagan is because someone in this room also thought that was a good idea. And not that he wasn't a great president, but he's not from Texas, and he has no direct connection to our department. And so I'm tired of individual board members thinking they have the right to name our buildings. I have a lot of people I'd like to name any building we have. Again, there are a lot of people I've worked with that have gone on that it would be great if I could honor them. But I know that those buildings reflect the people of Harris County. They don't reflect my individual opinion of a great person and a great name. And I wish we would see that and see that it really lessens our ability to effectively tell the staff and the superintendent that he should operate ethically when we're going against our own policies.
Eric,
Yes, Trustee Wolf.
I'd like to get a summary of what the other bids were. I guess you got 3 or 4 bids that Superintendent Colbert referred to me to. Because it started, over 100,000? You brought it down to 80, then to 60 and 50?
Well, it started, we hired an architect and had to have a design to go by. I'm resorting to memory, but at first we were going to match this custom stone that's on the building now. That cost was several thousand dollars more, 30-something thousand more than, yeah. It's a certain method of stone, and it was very custom. We took that back and then got it down to this amount. We're using a job order contractor through Choice Partners, and negotiated with them, worked diligently with the architect, with the contractors to get the best prices. The job order contractor got competitive bids from signage companies, from the stone companies, trying to get it down, as best as we could, without compromising that design.
Eric,
Yes, Trustee Wolf.
I'd like to move to call the question.
Okay, we got a motion to call the question. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Fine. Do we have any discussion on calling the question? Am I supposed to have discussion on calling the question? We can't have discussion. Does anybody else want to say anything else, or should
Can't
we
have
just?
discussion, Eric.
Oh, I'm having discussion on calling the question if I can. Are we all worded out, or is there still? Does anybody? Okay. I know you don't. Okay, then I'll learn. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Is there any discussion for calling the question? Well, there could be. I don't know what they'd say, but there could always be some discussion on something. Okay, so let's vote. All in favor of calling the question, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. So the discussion continues. Who else would like to speak? No one else would like to speak?
I have a question for Trustee Sumners. What is different now when you voted against naming the building after Trustee Wolf's mother back in January, and now you're for it? Is that what you're saying?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
I haven't said anything about voting on this.
No, I'm just saying.
Nothing's changed.
You are still against it. Why? I'd like to hear why. We haven't heard from you.
I agree with Trustee Carter.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't hear that from you, so I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other
I have a question.
Please.
Knowing that this is a contentious item, I'm curious, and then y'all are probably going to vote here in the next 30 minutes or so.
Maybe.
That's a joke.
Maybe.
That's a joke.
I don't know.
I'm curious as the superintendent, how am I to proceed if it fails? I mean, the board served the administration a directive for signage. Let's say this item fails. What would
Sir,
be
you
my-
can wait till the next agenda item. You do nothing till we bring up another agenda item. Or you make a request to the president or whomever for some next step.
I just don't want to get in trouble.
To me, if this fails, you have a name already. You put that name on the sign.
I disagree.
Can I make a comment? The current name is the Ethel Wolf Building.
Please, Mr. Summers, if you have
Okay.
anything to say.
If it
now's the time to
fails,
say
you
it.
don't have permission to spend the money. So
Won't
you
be
don't
any
do
update.
anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always go and get a sign that's less than $50,000, but
Okay.
Is there any more discussion, or we discussed out? I think we're done talking. Okay, now it's time to vote. Time to vote.
I don't know that we are finished.
Oh, let's talk some more then.
Michael, would you like to defer this vote for another meeting?
well, are we all going to be here next month? I mean,
I come every month pending any emergency. I mean, I don't make plans to not attend the meeting.
would you prefer to do that, George?
I think it might be a good idea.
All right, I move to defer it, to postpone it to the September board meeting.
Do I hear a motion? What I'm hearing,
what I
I
just
believe,
did.
is a motion to table this to the next board meeting. Would that be the right way to do
Well,
it, Sarah?
Eric,
Okay. So it's a motion
Well,
to
let me
table.
ask the superintendent real quick. I mean, if we table this, what are you going to do with the?
the next board meeting.
Yeah, you can't do anything really. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
going to wait and put it on the next board agenda.
Eric, well, I think this would be a friendly amendment because you made the motion and George made the second. So y'all could
You
accept
can't, a
that.
motion to table cannot be a friendly amendment.
It's not, can it,
We're
sir?
getting tired.
The table to a time certain?
Getting tired. I think it'd be a motion to table, which I need a
To the
second on.
September
That's what I
board meeting.
believe.
It wouldn't be a friendly amendment sorry. It wouldn't be a friendly amendment technically because it's a new motion. And so next month it would be to revive the original motion from this meeting to bring
similar
back
to-
to,
yeah.
for
Is that
consideration.
good, Don?
So
Does that work?
okay. So I hear the motion. Is
Who
there
were
a
the people that
second?
did the?
I did not
Who made
hear.
the
the-
motion?
original
Did George?
No, did you make a motion?
I
to-
made it.
Okay,
And I
George made
seconded
the
it.
motion. Okay, cool. George made the motion, you seconded it. That's all I needed to hear. Is there any discussion on this? Trustee Carter?
There's been no reason, Mr. Moore, what is the reason? We're just passing the buck so that the people cannot hear our, I mean, we had a proposal, he went and got an architect, he had a design, he's talked about it, we have a price. You're not giving a reason other than, I don't think I have the votes. That's what I think.
That's not the reason. I think that through a little bit of deliberations, things can change.
I would just like to say that a lot of people came today to find out the status of this. I don't think things are going to improve out there in the public waiting 30 more days. I think you're going to antagonize people and you're going to make them mad. What they want to see is government in action. They want to see an answer. So I think we need to give it to them.
Is there any more discussion? Discussion.
And might I note,
Carter?
that we spend a little too much time on items that don't move the district forward in terms of helping our students achieve, helping our teachers feel supported. And we spend a lot of time on things that divide and alienate the community. And I wish we would sometimes adjust our focus. And pushing this back is just spending more time on this issue.
Any more discussion? We discussed out. Okay. So let's have the vote. All in favor of tabling this to the next board meeting, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. All abstaining, raise your hand. It's tabled to the next board meeting. Oh, and there's no abstaining. Okay.
Okay.
Now we're going to executive session. So do I hit the gavel and say we're going to executive session?
Time.
Is something else I need to do?
When we come back.
So I'm gonna hit this now. Oh, I'm not gonna.
Duck in it?
Read it. Okay, that's fine. I just was wondering if there's anything I need to do before. Okay, we're going to executive session under the Texas Government Code pursuant to any and all purposes permitted by sections 551-001-551-084, including but not limited to 551-071 and 551-074. It's 3:45 p.m. Okay, you ready? We ready? Yep. So I click it 3 times, say we're back, say the time. Yes, sir. Okay, we're back. It's 4:16 p.m. Okay. First thing is we're going to go to agenda item 8P, which, I was nice enough to admit that. I was hoping to go away, but it didn't. So it came back. It was here waiting for me. So, okay, we're going to consider assigning a member of HCDE board as the Texas Association of School Boards delegate and another as an alternative to the TASB Annual Assembly to be held in conjunction with the TASB Convention, October 5th to 8th, 2017 in Dallas, Texas. Do I have a motion? You, Trustee Troutman. Oh, do we got to nominate somebody?
Yes.
I'm just going through. Okay. Eric Dick don't want to go. I hate Dallas. I really don't like Dallas.
What's the date?
That's on the record, by the way.
I don't mind it being on the record. It could be on the record.
What's the date?
October 5th through 8th.
Okay, so.
So I believe the assembly, I've been an alternate, maybe I was the delegate.
Eric, you can always
It
nominate
was
an
all the way
alternate
last
that you
year.
don't like that has to
No,
go with
maybe
it.
it was before last year. No, in 2015. I believe it's Saturday
How
where
much
the
step
main
into
meeting
this?
is, and you're actually voting on board officers. No, you don't have to go all 4 days. If you're just your actual, what we've been voting for, you have the option of going to other days because they have workshops. No, I'm explaining. You said, what do you do? So I've been one. I'm just telling you that you're representing our region. I'm here one at a time, so we can't hear you. But the main thing is, on Saturday, you vote on different, the officers for the Texas Association of School Boards, and some key policies that have been thoroughly vetted. So by the time you get to Saturday, it's fairly simple what's posted. Not a lot of debate. It doesn't go on that long for you to vote on basic policies for the Texas Association of School Boards. You have the option of going the other days because there are workshops, professional development, but your main duty would be on the Saturday.
Okay. Is there anybody that actually wants to do this?
Can I nominate Lewis Evans as the alternate?
Mike, is this something you want to do? Because I know you.
I did it last year, and I'm traveling a lot this fall, so I don't.
Is anyone that actually wants to do this? I'll do it if no one else wants to, but I really. It's my penalty? For up any crazy agenda items this go. Fine. Do I actually have to go to this, or can I skip out? Who's okay? Who's the alternate?
I think I nominated Lewis. I didn't hear a second.
Okay, so I hear a motion to nominate. I hear a motion to nominate Lewis. I do hear a motion to nominate
It doesn't
Lewis.
mean he
No
has to
joke.
go. I mean,
And I have a second from Diane. Okay.
hey, Eric.
Yes.
I'll go as your alternate if you really want to go. I don't want to go as the delegate, though.
Really don't want to go. So you'll
Fly back in the evening. It's
You're
mid-afternoon.
fine with
There are
going?
a lot of flights from Dallas.
Some other questions. So we fly? Do we fly? We can?
You can drive there.
You get paid mileage.
I mean, this is not real complicated. You're
It is
gonna,
when we have to be out of our city and we don't want to.
you drive to Dallas,
We don't want to drive. I don't, if I,
the
if I'm
hotel,
going, I don't
you
want to drive.
go to a conference.
Hotel
you
actually
sit-
nice?
Well, Carla will try to take care of you. If it's the Omni, it's a great hotel.
Yeah.
You'll learn something there. I mean,
I dislike Dallas.
you'll be surrounded by other board members.
That are jerks because they're in Dallas?
Well, and so, you know, it's important that if the board elects somebody, that person serve as the delegate or the ambassador for Harris County Department of Ed's board at that event. So, prestigious.
I don't care.
Yeah, you went all the way downtown Houston last year, just like I did.
San Antonio.
And I would also remind the board it's 425. So,
If we were concerned about that, we would have voted.
So you fine with being the alternative, Mike?
If you're
You'll
going to
be-
go as a delegate.
I'll go. I'm not going to promise I'm going to go as a delegate. I'll try. I can tell you I really do not like Dallas very much, but if I have to go, I'll go, and I'll maybe bring my family, maybe have a good time.
So does somebody want to make a proper motion of who's being?
Make a motion that
No, there was a motion.
But that
And it
was
was
just-
seconded. Do we want to amend it to include in Mike Wolf as the alternative? So it's a friendly amendment to include Mike Wolf as the alternative. Is there any discussion, or did we talk enough about this? Talk? Why don't we not call the question, why don't we just vote?
Thank you.
Okay, so now let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining? Fine. Yep. Okay. Passes, okay. Okay, so now we're done with that. I move that the Board of Trustees terminate Carmen Brown's non-Chapter 21 contract for good cause effective August 16, 2017, and direct the superintendent or his designee to notify the employee of this action. Do I have a motion? I guess
So
that-
moved.
Do I have a second?
Well, you're reading
I'm
was the
moving.
motion.
Okay, so I'm reading, so you second.
Second.
Okay. Can we have discussion on this?
No.
Okay, no discussion. Okay, let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining? Okay. Do we have, are we deliberating the appointment? Nope. No, we did that?
9A?
There is? Didn't we do 9A and 9B? Are we done?
910, it says action.
10A, okay.
That's his action.
So,
Oh, okay.
we have a motion to adjourn. Did I hear a motion to adjourn from trustee Wolf? Yes. Do I have a second on that?
Second, yes.
Trustee Carter seconds it. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay.
Good job, sir.
We had a good time.
Just wanted to be irritable there, you know?
Oh, boy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I hope you will come